Hi there, it's Sarah from Inspire Tarot. Welcome to the channel. See what message Spirit has for us today. Whoops, I think that's a few too many. Four of Swords. This is too many, but Death, Strength, Ten of Swords, the Empress, the Tower, Seven of Pentacles. One more. The King of Pentacles. I love these cards. Super colourful. Powerful images. So the Four of Swords is all about kind of recharging after feeling overwhelmed. I think this card is a fantastic depiction of just being laid there, feeling spark out and needing a rest. And then these swords on the wall, it's almost very much as if to say, I need to take a rest from all these attack thoughts because I feel exhausted. And quite often that will put us into some sort of death experience where we're going through a rebirth. I know every time I go through some sort of rebirth, I definitely need to take stock and rest, because it can feel exhausting to go through these rebirths, because we just feel so disorientated when we go through a self-concept shift. I think I've explained before, but because our bodily identity is just a bunch of thoughts and concepts, as our thoughts and concepts shifts, we can literally feel like we're falling apart. And that's a good thing, but not to the ego. The ego thinks it's terrifying when we start to feel like we're falling apart. It just feels like we're like annihilation, like a loss of self, but essentially it's what we need on the path, so it's a good thing. And we always have our inner strength. I love this, the card of the lady with the lion. And yeah, the inner strength card is all about just being resilient and defenseless and calm and composed, because we have so much influence in that state. When we're in our quiet, peaceful state, we are essentially as God created us, because God created us in peace and in oneness. And the stillness is probably the closest thing to our heavenly home that we can experience. And the Ten of Swords is very much the end of the suit. It's where we hit rock bottom, and we need to let go. And that's essentially what we're doing with all the cards on the top row. It's very much letting go of our old self. We're going through a rebirth. I think it seems quite graphic with the man on the floor with all the swords in him, but as Jesus did, he came back to life. He got back up and he came back to life, to show us that because we're eternal, we can't be killed. And even though we associate ourselves with our physical body, we know that our physical body is not real, because it's not eternal. And one of the initial quotes in A Course in Miracles is, "Nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists, herein lies the peace of God." And we know that the mind will continue beyond the grave, into as many incarnations as we need, until the mind is completely pure, and then we pop out of the dream and back into heaven, or back into our right mind, essentially, when we've purified our thoughts enough that we no longer seem to be in this dream. The more guilt and fear we have, the more the dream seems real and thick. As we release the guilt, we notice that we see the matrix glitching, and things that we thought were set in stone start to kind of bend and crumple, and we notice all these miracles and things happening. And we just kind of step into our power more and more. We become more in trust. We get to a stage where we can go through tower moments. We almost enjoy the tower moments, maybe not at the time, because we can kind of feel as if we're being thrown out on our head. when the more we heal, the more we can take notice before we get thrown out of the tower by the Spirit. We can actually exit the tower ourselves because we're not so frightened, and we understand, we're listening to our guidance, and we understand that we don't need to experience these extreme contrasts all the time. The Empress is very much, a very composed, nurturing female presence. And as we grow in trust and in love, we embody these lovely healing states, and we can be a guide and a healer for other people. We can pass the message on. One of the nice things it says in A Course in Miracles is, I can't remember exactly how it's worded, but it's the privilege of the forgiven to forgive. So as we know that we're forgiven automatically, we were never really condemned, and that we can pass this message on to other people, which I love to do. And I think when early on in the journey, it can seem quite difficult because it can feel very risky to tell people things that just seem completely absurd. I've always felt that we have to be prepared to go completely insane in the eyes of the world in order to return to sanity, because it's really the thinking of this world that is completely insane. And because it is an illusion and it's all just a reflection, if we can share the information, and whenever we get feedback from other people, if it's, that we're crazy or whatever, if we just see it as a reflection of our own fear, over time we get more comfortable with the contrast, and the contrast just softens and people become sweet. I almost feel like now I can tell people that the world's an illusion, and kind of explain it to them in a way, obviously it's guided by the Spirit, in a way that they can relate to, that's palatable to them. And really, you would think that you would be sectioned if you were telling people that the world wasn't real. But because the world isn't real, it just reflects back to you. So you're perfectly safe. But it is quite the journey, quite the undoing. And it can be, with the Seven of Pentacles, it's very much a card of things changing in unseen ways. And I do find the way that the Spirit heals us is miraculous, because the Spirit understands why we have the distortions that we have. We don't really understand them from our distorted perspective, because if we did understand them, we wouldn't have these distortions. So the Spirit has to help us, because we can get so stuck in our belief systems that we literally can't find a way out, or we're too frightened to even dare to progress out. But when we ask the Spirit for help, we're given help, and the changes in the unconscious mind, they happen in a very mysterious way. And it's just beautiful to know that we have this help, we have this guidance, and that we can rely on it, and we can communicate with the Spirit all the time, and the Spirit will comfort us. And with the King of Pentacles card, it's just very much, we can feel safe and relaxed in the world. We can feel abundant. We know that everything that we need will be given. And the more we trust, and the more we devote ourselves to this path, the more we are given. And it is miraculous. And it just makes us feel more at home and comfortable in the world. And then we can share our pentacles, our resources, our love with other people. So it's a beautiful journey and a beautiful gift. And at times it can feel really hairy and challenging, but the Spirit just uses our interests and things to keep us going. Like, I really love colour and art and symbolism, so tarot is perfect for me to talk about non-duality and talk about things like this in a way that kind of interests me and keeps me on my toes. I have to listen to the Spirit when the cards come out about what he wants me to say. So I particularly like it. And I was thinking on a topic of free will today, and I'd listened to different people explain the concept of free will, and I didn't quite think they'd got it right, so I thought I would have a bash at explaining it myself. So to me, as a human being, because we think we're a body and we think that God created us in a body, we think that free will is being able to move the body wherever we want. So having enough money and enough time to be able to just please ourselves. And this may feel good for a while, you know, we can afford to go on endless holidays and we can afford to have the house we want, but we're still subject to the birth and death cycle. We're still subject to illness and bad things happening. So our will is never really free. And it does say in the Course that we can have freedom, you can't have freedom of the body and freedom of the mind. And I was listening to another reader the other day, and he was saying, you know, that the body has physical ends. You can feel the end of your fingers, and you can feel the outside of your thighs and stuff, but there is no end to the mind. The mind is eternal. So that's the part of us that God created. So we only have free will at the mind level. And so, yeah, what we think of as free will is not really freedom. And the Spirit is teaching us that we have to be free in mind in order to feel this free will. And yeah, what we're really looking for is that feeling of mental freedom, that feeling of just having nothing that blocks us or makes us uncomfortable. And the Spirit knows that this is only experienced through unified thinking or through the right mind. So we have to accept that we're in a dream, and the dream is neutral. Everything in the dream is neutral, and that we can choose to align with the truth rather than dualistic interpretations. And that's how we free ourselves. And the more we practice this, the less bothered we are about things that happen in the external world. We kind of detach from it. They hook us less and less, and we can go about our day being loving, and not being hooked by the ego's interpretations of things that are happening. And the Spirit knows that we want more. Even if we were given absolutely everything conceivable on this planet, it would still never satisfy us, because it's finite, and we really need the infinite in order to feel that freeness. We need the oneness in order to not feel separate, or not to feel as if we're striving for something. We just want to like swim in this sea of perfection, which is essentially what the divine mind is. So heaven is really just a state of mind that's so pure that it's not fazed by anything at all. And as we go on this journey, our perceptions are just altered bit by bit by bit, until we get to a stage where we really do trust and we feel safe, and the Spirit gives us lots of miracles. And it's just a clever journey, and we never really know what's coming next. And the healing journey is vastly different to what you would expect it to be. From when I first started the journey, you feel as if you're going to be building up your small self, like puffing it up to make it into something better, but you realise that we're really undoing all our concepts of self. We're kind of just letting go of absolutely everything, really having to leave ourselves alone, and and just be in this gentle state of undoing. So I think that was a nice little message from the Spirit today, and these cards are very beautiful. I hope you enjoyed it. Love you all. Bye.